He needed me that night. You would have understood if you trusted me, she said after spending the night at her ex's apartment on our anniversary. I didn't respond, just went to the bedroom and started packing. Found the ring box I'd hidden in my drawer, put it in my pocket. She saw it from the doorway, went pale. I walked past her and left. Hey viewers, before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want more stories like this. Thanks. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the vase she bought in Tulum against the wall. I didn't demand to check her phone. When you reach a certain level of clarity, rage just feels inefficient. It was 8 a.m. on a Saturday. My girlfriend of 3 years, Sarah, had just walked through the front door. She looked wrecked. But not, I just spent the night at a hospital saving a life. Wrecked. She looked, I stayed up until 4 a.m. drinking cheap wine and trauma bonding. Wrecked. She dropped her keys on the console table. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the silent apartment. I was sitting on the couch, still in the same clothes from the night before, a crisp button-down and slacks. I hadn't slept. Oh, you're awake, she said, kicking off her boots. She rubbed her temples, feigning a headache to draw sympathy. God, what a nightmare. I am exhausted. She walked past me toward the kitchen, expecting me to follow, expecting me to ask if she was okay. When I didn't move, she paused and turned around. The air shifted. She saw the shirt. She saw the unlit candles on the dining table behind me. She saw the unopened bottle of vintage Cabernet, a $200 bottle, sitting next to two empty, pristine glasses. Mark, please, she sighed, her voice dripping with preemptive annoyance. Don't do this. Don't start. Start what? I asked, my voice frighteningly calm. The silent treatment thing. Jason was in a really bad place. Okay, he was spiraling. He called me in a panic. If I hadn't gone over there, I don't know what he would have done. Jason, her ex, a broken bird she dated for 2 turbulent years before me. The guy who was an aspiring DJ at 24 and still an aspiring DJ at 29. For 3 years, I had been the rock, the stable engineer who paid the bills, planned the trips, and fixed the leaking sinks. Jason was the crisis, the chaotic artist who only called when he was broke, high, or lonely. It was our 3rd anniversary, Sarah, I said. We had reservations at Le Bernardin. I booked that table 4 months ago. She rolled her eyes. Actually rolled them. I know, and I feel bad about the dinner, I do. But this was a life or death situation, Mark. He was talking about ending it. What kind of person would I be if I ignored that because of a dinner reservation? There it was, the pivot. She was trying to make me the villain for caring about her milestone. So, he was suicidal? I asked. Yes, he was hysterical. Did you call 911? She froze. What? If he was an immediate threat to himself, you should have called emergency services professionals. Did you call them? No, Mark. I didn't call the cops on him. He just needed someone to talk to. He needed to not be alone. I stood and walked toward her. As I got closer, the smell hit me. It wasn't antiseptic, not like a hospital or crisis center. It was distinct, stale vape smoke, the sour tang of spilled IPA, and underneath it all, the aggressive, musky scent of Santal 33, Jason's signature cologne. You smell like a dive bar, I said. Her face flushed a deep, guilty crimson. After he calmed down, we had a drink to settle his nerves. We fell asleep watching a movie on the couch. Nothing happened. You missed our anniversary to get drunk with your ex-boyfriend because he was lonely. He needed me, she shouted, her voice cracking. God, you are so insecure. God, you are so insecure. You can't handle that I care about people. You would have understood if you actually trusted me instead of being so jealous. That sentence broke it. You would have understood if you trusted me. I looked at her, really looked at her. I saw the smear of eyeliner she hadn't washed off. I saw the defensiveness in her posture. She wasn't sorry. She felt entitled to my patience, entitled to my stability, while she got her emotional fix from the chaos of her past. She wanted to play nurse to a man who refused to grow up, and she wanted me to foot the bill for the apartment she came home to. I didn't say another word. I turned, walked past her, and went into the bedroom. Mark, where are you going? Are you walking away from me? She followed, her voice rising. I pulled my suitcase down from the top shelf of the closet, set it on the bed, and unzipped it. Oh my God, you have got to be kidding me. She laughed, sharp and incredulous. You're packing? Because I helped a friend? You are being so dramatic right now. I walked to the dresser and opened the sock drawer. Mark, stop it. Talk to me. I reached into the back beneath the heavy wool hiking socks. My fingers brushed the cool, fuzzy velvet. I pulled out the box. It was a small navy blue box. Inside was a platinum band with a 1.5-carat solitaire diamond. I had spent 6 months saving for it. I had driven 2 hours to a specific jeweler to get the cut just right. I was going to propose over dessert last night. I turned around. Sarah stood in the bedroom doorway, hands on her hips, ready to launch into another speech about my lack of empathy. Then she saw my hand. Her mouth was open, mid-sentence, but the sound died in her throat. Her eyes widened. Her face didn't just pale. It turned gray. Her hands dropped from her hips to her sides, limp. The arrogance vanished, replaced by a sudden horrifying clarity. She looked at the box, then at the suitcase, then at me. The word came out like a choke. "Is that were you?" I didn't answer. I didn't open the box to show her the ring she lost. She didn't deserve to see it sparkle. I simply slipped the box into my pocket. I turned back to the bed, threw in 3 days' worth of clothes, my laptop, and my toiletries. I zipped the bag shut. "No, no, no, no," she stammered, stepping into the room. She reached for my arm. "Mark, wait. You were going to propose last night." I sidestepped her. I grabbed the handle of my suitcase. "Mark, please stop. Let's talk about this." She was panicking now, blocking the doorway. Tears welled instantly. Real tears this time. Tears of loss, not manipulation. I didn't know. If I had known, I never would have picked up the phone. I would have told Jason too. I stopped for 1 second, just long enough to look her in the eye. "That's the problem, Sarah," I said softly. "You shouldn't have needed a ring to tell him that." I moved past her. She tried to grab the suitcase handle, her fingernails scraping against the fabric, but I pulled it away. I walked down the hallway, her footsteps thudding behind me. "You can't just leave. We live together." "Mark, I love you." I opened the front door. "Mark," she screamed, a guttural sound that probably woke the neighbors. I stepped out, closed the door gently behind me, and listened to the lock click. I walked down the stairs, got into my car, and drove away. I didn't turn on the radio. I just drove in silence, feeling lighter than I had in years. The first 48 hours were a masterclass in modern digital harassment. I checked into a bland, mid-range hotel about 20 minutes from my office. It wasn't glamorous, but it was quiet. I sat on the stiff bed, staring at my phone as it vibrated across the nightstand, inching toward the edge like a suicidal beetle. Sarah, 12 missed calls. Sarah, 14 text messages. The text followed a predictable, almost clinical progression of grief, or rather the grief of a narcissist losing their supply. Phase 1, denial and bargaining. "Baby, please pick up. I'm shaking, I can't breathe. You're scaring me. I'm throwing out all of Jason's stuff. I blocked his number. I'll show you. Just come home. We can fix this." Couples go through rough patches. We don't throw away 3 years over one misunderstanding. Phase 2, anger. "You're being incredibly immature. So you're just going to ghost me after everything I did for you? That's cowardice, Mark. You clearly never loved me if you can walk away this easily. You were just looking for an excuse." Phase 3, the flying monkeys. By Sunday afternoon, she had deployed the troops. Her best friend, Jessica, a woman who had cheated on 2 husbands and considered herself a relationship expert, blew up my phone. I made the mistake of answering one call, mostly because I needed to know if Sarah was going to burn the apartment down. "Mark, you need to stop this performative cruelty," Jessica snapped before I could even say hello, her voice shrill and echoing through the receiver. "She is on the floor, Mark. On the floor, crying her eyes out. You can't just dangle an engagement ring in her face and then abandon her. That is psychological abuse." I was sitting by the hotel window watching traffic crawl along the interstate. I felt a strange detachment, like I was watching a movie of my own life. "I didn't dangle it," I said calmly. "I packed it. It belongs to me, just like the rent money she's going to need next month." "You are heartless," Jessica spat. She made a mistake. She was trying to be a good friend. "Jessica." I cut in, my voice low. "She came home smelling like his cologne and stale beer. She didn't save a life. She went on a date. Tell Sarah she has until the end of the month to figure out the lease. I'll pay my half until then. After that, she's on her own." I hung up and blocked Jessica's number. Then I blocked Sarah's sisters. Then I muted notifications from our mutual friends. I went to work on Monday like a ghost. I focused entirely on spreadsheets and structural loads. It was meditative. When you're dealing with betrayal, There's something incredibly soothing about math. Math doesn't lie. Math doesn't gaslight you. 2 plus 2 never calls its ex at midnight because it's confused. By Wednesday, the silence from my end seemed to break something in Sarah. The text stopped being aggressive and started becoming pathetic. I miss you. The apartment is so quiet. I found your gray hoodie. It smells like you. I'm sleeping in it. I didn't reply. I didn't feel the urge to. The image of her face when she saw the ring box was burned into my retina. It was the closure I didn't know I needed. It proved she understood the magnitude of her loss. Words would only dilute that. About 3 weeks later, I stopped by the apartment to get the rest of my things. I timed it for a Tuesday morning when I knew she had a team meeting. The apartment was a wreck. It looked like a frat house. Take-out containers on the coffee table. A pile of laundry on the sofa. It was the physical manifestation of her internal state. I packed my books, my espresso machine, and the rest of my clothes. As I loaded the last box into my car, my neighbor, Mrs. Gable, walked by with her pug. Mrs. Gable was the neighborhood surveillance system. Mark. She waved, shuffling over. I haven't seen you. Is everything all right? Sarah has had company quite a bit lately. I paused. I moved out. Mrs. Gable. We broke up. She leaned in, conspiratorial. Oh, I assumed. That young man with the loud muffler. He's been parking in your spot. Plays music at all hours. I was going to complain to the Strata, but I didn't want to cause trouble for you. Jason. Of course. It hadn't even been a month, and the parasite had already attached itself to the new host. A wave of nausea hit me, followed quickly by relief. It wasn't my problem anymore. Feel free to complain, Mrs. Gable, I said with a smile. I'm off the lease as of the 1st. It's not my spot anymore. I heard the rest of the story through the grapevine over the next few months. You know how it is. You try to cut ties, but mutual friends get drunk and talk. Apparently, once I was out of the picture, Sarah tried to lean on Jason for the emotional and financial stability I had provided. She expected him to step up. She thought their connection had been stifled by my presence, and now it could finally flourish. The reality check hit her like a freight train. Jason didn't want a girlfriend. He wanted a fan, he wanted a place to crash. Within 2 months, he had borrowed $3,000 from her for new DJ equipment. He start. D, bringing his creative friends over to the apartment. Our sanctuary, turning it into a flop house. When she asked him to contribute or clean up, he used the exact same lines on her that she had used on me. You're stifling my creativity. You're too uptight. Stop acting like my mom. The irony was so rich it could have caused gout. The final nail in the coffin came in month 4. I was out for drinks with a buddy of mine, Dave, who still followed Sarah on Instagram. Dude, Dave said, sliding his phone across the table. Look at this. It was a story Sarah had posted. Just text, black background, small white font, the universal signal for a meltdown. It's funny how you can ruin the best thing that ever happened to you for someone who treats you like an option. Lesson learned. I am so sorry. She broke up with Jason, I asked, taking a sip of my beer. Better, Dave grinned. Jason cheated on her with a 19-year-old promoter he met at a club. Sarah came home early and found them. I laughed. I couldn't help it. A short, sharp bark of laughter. She's been asking about you, Dave added cautiously. She knows I'm seeing you tonight. She wanted to know if you're seeing anyone. I thought about the woman I had met at the rock climbing gym a few weeks earlier. Elena. She was a pediatric nurse. Funny, direct, and had her life together. We had gone on 3 dates. No drama, no exes lurking in the shadows. Just easy, comfortable chemistry. Tell her I'm doing great, I said, and tell her I sold the ring. Dave's eyebrows shot up. You sold it? Yep. Last week. What did you do with the money? I bought that vintage Ducati I've been talking about for 5 years. I said, signaling the waitress for the check. Sarah always said motorcycles were too dangerous. She wouldn't let me get one. I stood up, grabbing my jacket. Turns out, I said, she was the dange. Rouse 1. 6 months passed. If you've never rebuilt your life from the ground up, let me tell you, it's addictive. The first month is hell. The second is work. But by the third, you realize how much dead weight you were actually carrying. I wasn't just free of Sarah. I was free of the anxiety she masked as passion. Free from the constant need to manage her emotions, her crises, her doubts. I threw myself into everything I had put on hold. I worked harder, but smarter. I got promoted to senior project manager, which came with a significant raise. I took the Ducati on weekend trips up the coast, letting the wind tear past me and clear out the last cobwebs of the past. And I started seeing Elena properly. It was different. quiet. When Elena had a bad day at the hospital, she didn't lash out or disappear. She told me about it. We ordered Thai food and watched bad sci-fi movies. There were no games, no tests of my loyalty, just two adults building something solid. One Tuesday evening, I was at a high-end furniture store downtown. I was buying a new sectional for my condo, a place I bought with my own money, decorated to my own taste. No beige throw pillows, no live, laugh, love signs. I was testing the firmness of a charcoal leather sofa when I felt eyes on me. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. It's a primal instinct, knowing when you're being watched. I turned around. Standing near the entrance, looking like a ghost of her former self, was Sarah. She looked diminished. That was the only word for it. She was wearing old yoga pants and a stained hoodie. Her hair was pulled back into a messy, frantic bun. She looked tired, like she had aged 5 years and 6 months. She was holding a cheap iced coffee, staring at me like I was a mirage. I didn't panic. I didn't feel a spike of adrenaline. I just felt bored. She hesitated, then walked over. Her steps were tentative, missing the arrogant strut she used to have. "Mark," she said. Her voice was small. "Sarah." I nodded politely. "How are you?" She blinked, clearly thrown off by my calmness. She had expected anger, or maybe longing. She didn't know what to do with indifference. I'm okay," she lied. Her eyes moved over my outfit, a tailored jacket, good boots. She glanced at the expensive sofa I was leaning against. "You look really good." "Happy." "I am," I said. "I really am." She bit her lip. I could see the gears turning, searching for an opening. "I heard about the promotion," she said. "Dave told me." "Congratulations. You always work so hard." "I always said you'd run that place someday." "You actually said I worked too much and lacked spontaneity," I corrected gently. "But thank you." She flinched. "Mark, look, can we talk just for 5 minutes? I tried texting you, but I blocked you, Sarah." "I know. I know you did, and I deserved it." She stepped closer, invading my space. The smell of stale coffee and desperation was unmistakable. "But I need to say this. I need you to know that I messed up. Big time. Jason, he was a mistake. A massive, horrible mistake. I checked my watch, not as a power move, but because I actually had dinner plans." "I know," I said. "I heard. He was abusive, Mark, emotionally. He used me. He drained my savings. I'm staying on Jessica's couch right now because I couldn't afford the rent on the old place alone." Tears welled in her eyes. I realized something. "Every time he treated me like dirt, I thought of you," she continued. "I thought of how safe I felt with you, how you never made me feel anxious." She reached out, her hand hovering near my arm. "I miss us, Mark. I miss my best friend. I know I broke your trust, but people grow. I've grown. We can start over, slowly. I can make it up to you." This was it. The moment she had rehearsed in the shower for weeks. The pitch. I looked at her hand, then at her face. I remembered the anniversary. I remembered her standing in the hallway, smelling like him, telling me I was insecure for having boundaries. "Sarah," I said, my voice steady, "do you remember what you said to me that morning when you came home?" She frowned, confused. "I said a lot of things. You said you would have understood if you trusted me." She nodded quickly. "Yes, and I know I was wrong to say that. I know I cut her off." "You weren't wrong," she froze. "What?" "You were right," I said. "If I had trusted you, I would have been a fool. But I trusted myself instead, and I understood exactly what I had to do." I stepped back, putting distance between us. "I don't hate you, Sarah. I don't think about you enough to hate you, but we aren't starting over. We aren't anything. You chose a life of chaos, and I chose a life of peace. And I'm not trading my peace to fix your mistakes." Her face crumpled. "But the ring, Mark, you bought a ring. You wanted to marry me. You can't just turn that love off." "I didn't turn it off," I said. "You killed it. That morning, you looked me in the eye and chose him. The ring was just a piece of metal. After that, I sold it." I added, "It paid for the down payment on this condo. So in a way, you did help me build my future, just not the one you wanted." Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She looked around the store, at the expensive furniture, at the life she could have had, at the man she threw away for a guy who cheated on her with a teenager. "I have to go," I said. "Elena is waiting for me. We're making dinner." "Elena," she whispered. "My girlfriend," I said. The word tasted good. She trusts me, and I trust her. It's nice. You should try it sometime. I turned my back on her. I didn't wait for a response. I didn't look back to see if she was crying. I walked toward the exit, toward the cool evening air, toward my bike, and toward a future that finally belonged to me. Behind me in the store, there was only silence, and it was beautiful. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments